Today I would like to show you some foam rolling exercises and stretches that you can do for the vastus lateralis. This is really good if you're experiencing any kind of hip pain, or if you feel like your knee is locked up, or for small children that are growing really fast in sports, they can have growing pains, and this can actually be caused by trigger points in your vastus lateralis. This muscle is a quadricep muscle. It starts high on the hip by the greater trochanter, and it goes all the way down to the knee. And there are several trigger points, usually in the belly of the muscle, down by the knee, and also in the hip. So as you roll through this muscle, it's really important to go slowly and feel for where those trigger points are. They are going to be painful. And focus on those areas. And it's also a very wide muscle. It's wider than most people realize. It wraps around the whole femur. So I like to take this muscle actually in 3 different sections when I'm working on it. I like to work on it more anterior in the front. And you can usually notice this muscle pops out down by the knee. And it's also underneath the IT band, so you'll get some double work there on your IT band while you're working on the vastus lateralis. And it's a little bit behind the IT band, meets up with the hamstring muscle. So to begin, I like to start high on the hip, and you can support yourself with your leg out in front and support yourself with your hands. You want to make sure that you stay forward, square with the wall as much as possible so that you can really put the pressure into the muscle. However, I'm leaning just a little bit on a 45-degree angle on this muscle to get the front of it. And I'm going to go slowly down the muscle, looking for a trigger point. And I have one right there, so you can breathe into it. And then you can move distal just slightly off of it and create a pin and stretch by moving your foot back and forth. Really working into the fascia. And this is going to hurt just a little bit more than just doing the static stretching on it. And then you can roll back up. You might find one again. Also, when you're doing a pin and stretch and you're moving your foot back and forth, you can give that about 10 or 15 repetitions just to make sure that you really work into that muscle. And so just ever so slightly, I'm going to roll more on the side of my leg to get the side of the vastus lateralis and also the IT band. And there's a major trigger point right there for me. They're common to be in the belly of the muscle. Just gonna roll off of it. Do a pin and stretch. And then all the way back up. You can also put your leg behind you. And I usually do this if I'm changing the angle a little bit. So I'm going to get the back of the vastus lateralis where it wraps around the femur. And on this side of it, sometimes you have trigger points high in the hip as well. So I like to definitely take my time and feel at the very top of that muscle to see if there's a trigger point in there and massage it out. And then you can roll all the way back down again. And that should cover the full muscle from every angle. Remember, take your time, breathe through it. If you are doing a pin and stretch, do that 10 to 15 times to really work into the fascia and release those trigger points. Really good idea to do this before sporting events or any other kind of stretching to make sure those trigger points are released so that other movement is easier to do with that muscle. All right, so after you're done foam rolling the muscle, I would also like to show you 2 different stretches that you can do to stretch the vastus lateralis even more. And I prefer you do the stretches after releasing the trigger points. So basically what we're going to do is open up the hip flexor. So you're going to have one leg out in front of you, and you're going to open that up. And it's probably good to have a pillow underneath your knee just to protect it. So just really start to feel the stretch in the hip flexor area. And if you just slightly move your foot out on an angle and push your hip forward, you can start to feel that stretch in the anterior part of the vastus lateralis and in the hip. And I can also feel this a little bit down by my knee as well. And then the second stretch I would like to show you is one where you can do it laying down on the ground. So basically what you want to do is take your knee up and over and allow your leg to stretch out. This is going to also stretch your IT band and more or less the back of the vastus lateralis as well, getting into that angle. And what's important here is really think about pushing your hip back down on the ground while you're pressing your heel in the opposite direction. And doing that is really going to help open up that muscle, and you can feel the stretch even more. And this is great for the hips too. Just make sure you really hold these stretches for at least 15 seconds or longer if you can. You can also wrap a belt or a yoga strap around your foot for extra ease and support. And so that's what I have for the 2 stretches that you could add on for your vastus lateralis.